Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the New to Wrestling Podcast After Dark. We are so back, girl.
We're
so
back,
back.
baby.
We took a little vacation, a little week off just for summertime.
Amen.
And we're so back. I'm so excited. And I'm excited to come back with this because this I was not expecting you to choose, but what a thrill.
What a thrill.
Like,
I wanted
so
to do
happy.
something because you had mentioned before we had taken our like little break, and maybe on the pod, maybe not. I don't know. Someone can track it down.
Gets lost in the gab. The gab is so real it gets like lost.
Amen. And it's also like ceaseless. So
so true.
So like where do you pick what comes from where? We've literally probably been talking to each other since 2008
and it's the gab has never ceased.
That's what I'm saying.
Ceaseless Gab. It's the name of our next project. Ooh, next podcast, Ceaseless Gab.
Love that. Is that the one that where we eat cake and
oh, we were gonna call it like coffee and dessert, and we would just try like a different dessert and have coffee and kiki, and that's all we would do.
Yeah, we've been talking about like doing this for way too long.
Too long. Oh, it's a sin. It's such a sin because it was like even before podcast days, it was like we were gonna do a YouTube channel where we just like coffie and dessert,
this
and
was
because we just never shut up
in some iteration. It just happened
and
to just fall.
Xavier held the metaphorical gun to my head and was like, it's gonna be wrestling. And I was like, okay.
Bet. So I did want to do this one because you had mentioned that you wanted to start watching like Monday Night Raw or
I do,
like today.
Yes.
So I wanted to like because we had watched the WrestleMania 40 main events together when we were in one place.
Love.
So I thought this little documentary would kind of give us a little bit more detail about all that shenanigans because I know you love the back stage details.
I eat it up.
And it's something a bit more current. So to try and like satiate both of those desires. I love this one. Yeah.
I respect that so much. Thank you so much. Like, what a good listener, you guys. Like, get to a man like Xavier because like he just like listens and intakes information and makes decisions. Like
that's really lovely and very kind and way to ignore the the Latin rage that lives in me at all times.
Right, and that's when I listen and go like.
Because there's no other alternative. You just have to wait for the storm to
ride the train. Well, now I feel like I have a conversational surfboard and I just ride the wave. And I'm like, no way.
And the best part is you get it from me and my brother because
period.
You don't know my brother works with Kelsey.
Thank God. Brittany, you're next.
In her day-to-day, she gets to deal with my little brother. And then in her social life, she actively chooses to deal with me. So
yeah. Oh my God, that's crazy. The way I would actively choose all of you though, like let's be real. Not to be a sim. Not to be a sim for the whole Cruz family, but I am. Anyway.
Stroke that ego. We love it.
But yeah, so we are talking about WrestleMania XL Behind the Curtain, and I love that they put this on YouTube. I think that one of the top comments on the video is like, I'm so grateful they put this on YouTube for free for everyone to watch because people were thinking it was going to be on Peacock because that's where everything is like, and it's just out for the public in the wide world. Love that.
Yeah, and I think part of the thing that went into that decision is they had advertised this documentary to come out like they were doing advertisements for it during WrestleMania.
Crazy.
So it was announced that the documentary was going to come out essentially like the next day. So the world was just kind of waiting and just like, where is this doc? Like, hello, you like literally TikTok. They like just gaslit us. They just like announced it and like never spoken of it again. They just like moved on. Like it was very, very hushed, and like they just left us all to our own devices, which you never want to do to wrestling fans, by the way. Because if there is any subsect of like fanatics that is going to absolutely write their own ending to any of this, it's going to be wrestling fans.
Speculations, like Reddit threads, like they're going ham.
Yeah. So I think because they made us wait an extra 3 months for this, they were like, give it to the public, give it to the masses.
Just give it to them. Yeah. And I wonder too if it was also like trying to, because they mention, which we'll talk about, but they mention a few times, like, trying to get in the larger, like, audience outside of the wrestling community. Like,
Yes,
they
that's
talk so
always
I
the
was like
goal.
yes,
Like
yes, to draw
to
more
an extent.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that they did that. My only gripe, and we can talk about this at the end, is that it was too short. And we
Agreed.
can go through the episode and I'll tell you exactly what I wanted out of it more,
Right.
but because it's only an hour long, love to see it, but also, like, again, I always want more, but that's just the gossip in me. But yeah, love that this was available to the public. And yeah, I would love to get into watching Raw today, mostly because the tea seems so piping hot. So also, if you're new here, so am I.
Hmm.
My name is Kelsey. I am new to wrestling. This is Xavier. He is
Not
my
so new.
guide, not new, lifelong fan, and he's guiding me through the journeys, and this is what we're talking about today. So join us. My very first note is Triple H has a Stanley. Love.
Yes. Yeah.
Queen.
I
Hydrated
think.
queen.
Well, he's a girl dad, so
You can tell. Clock
yeah.
it.
I am not that like that's necessarily correlated, but I think he's a little bit more in tune with his softer side
Yeah, he
than
might have, like,
most execs.
yeah, because my dad is a girl dad, and I feel like it's one of those things where, like, if me and my sisters had Stanleys, he would be like, "Oh, that's a cool water bottle." Like, he wouldn't clock that it's like a thing. He would just be like,
Right.
"That's cool," and then we'd like get it for him for Christmas or Father's Day or
It's like when
something.
you got your dad on like when you made your dad like a sneakerhead.
Oh yeah, I was like, we gotta release the New Balances. We gotta release them. I was like, we need something else, and now he'll be like, hey, Adidas just launched this new collection with this like clicking lock lace and blah blah blah. Anyway, I bought a pair. And I'm like, what?
Love that.
He is so
Love
up.
that.
He
Go
is so
off.
up. Anyway, um, so it starts with very dramatic Triple H on the PJ girl on the WWE page,
Mm.
just drinking from his Stanley, talking about the pressures of WrestleMania. He literally says the pressures of WrestleMania overwhelming. I cannot imagine. And he says the card for WrestleMania 40 was penciled in, probably 80% done in October, but which WrestleMania happens in April, around
Right.
April, as
Hmm.
we know. Um, so since October, he goes, but a lot of things happen on the way, which we know. Um, but I wrote, one of my notes is, someone said, few roads we travel in life are straight, and I just put, I know that's right.
I know that's
I
right.
know that's right. I know that's right. Few straight. I know that's right.
Definitely not narrow.
No. But so Triple H, also known as Paul Levesque, his actual name,
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
the head of creative at WWE right now. And it's so funny because I always assumed, like, not assumed, but it's just like my brain couldn't separate the fact that there's like the head of creative and then like the actual president of the WWE. Like, you
Correct.
obviously know that, but it's just like, to
Yes, yes,
me,
yes.
Paul is at the steering wheel. Like, to me, I just always assume that Triple H is like
Which is
the man.
effectively, as far as like the product you see on TV, yes.
Right. Because to me, the creative, like, is the
Show.
boat. It's the
Right.
whole boat. I mean, like, yes, there are things that have to make the boat go, like the oars and the
Right.
things, but like it's the whole boat.
Right.
Like,
Hmm.
so to me, I'm always just like, he's the guy. He is the guy.
Yeah.
He says, I look at creative like a GPS. I put in the destination, and if you do that, the GPS tells you the turns to take along the way. Will tell you what turns to take along the way, but you always know what your North Star is.
Yeah.
So I think I feel like that's very fascinating, because, and it makes sense to me, because it's like, okay, I know I want to get there, and now it's just trying to figure out like the road to get there, and there might be like
Right. And that's
obstacles along the
very,
way. You have to pivot.
I feel like it was a very apt description for the way that the WWE in particular runs.
Yes.
In that like, and I'm sure this is probably true of other businesses, I don't really know. But that we've always, and we've said it on the regular show, that like the WWE's ability to pivot is its like greatest asset. Like
It's crazy.
so this kind of just like dovetails nicely into that. It's just like it doesn't, he knows like what he kind of wants to happen, but it's just one of those kind of jobs that there are too many factors and just changing variable parts to like be like, yes, this is what's happening for sure.
Right.
there are no foreshores.
No, no,
So
never. I feel like it's such a job where it's like you have to be so rigid in terms of like your schedule and like what you want to like just your
just
goals and stuff, but also so malleable in terms of like
mhm,
ability to pivot. Like your brain is just like it never shut off, I
right.
feel, which
Probably not,
it's
yeah.
crazy. Um we also again talked to Bruce Pritchard. We've talked about him many times on the show,
Mhm.
but he is, you know, one of the top creatives also at WWE. He's been around forever.
However.
Um and this I love this. He says the guy at the top, meaning Triple H, has been at the top. He knows what it takes to get to the top and has an open mind. And I think the last part too is like basically what we're saying is like you just have to have an open mind. Like no
Mhm.
idea is a stupid idea unless it just like at the time doesn't work. And that doesn't necessarily
Right.
make it stupid. It might not work right now.
Right, and that's like, you know, a testament to Triple H's, like, leadership is that, like, it is very easy to be like, "Oh, I've been there, done that, so I know."
Right. I know the
Um,
formula.
so I think the open mind thing is them kind of giving Triple H his flowers in that he is willing to, be a student in the process as well
Yes.
as, like, being, like, the one that's executing. Um because you never know who's gonna come to the table with, like, the idea. That's the
It's so
idea, you
true.
know?
It's so
And
true.
you are much more likely to, you know, be able to share the credit, if you're, um, willing to hear those ideas in the first place than, you know, having to do them or having to change, last minute, like, down the line because you were being stubborn, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Oh, totally. That's such a good point. Such a good point. So then it flashes to Cody Rhodes. He's jogging along a road in Georgia with his dog, as per usual, par for
as
the
per
course.
usual.
Cody Rhodes obviously hails from Georgia. He has been after the title for 2 years. And he made a promise to the late great Dusty Rhodes, his father, that he was gonna finish the story, win the title. He
Mhm,
would be the first title holder in his family, or like
mhm.
world championship title
Right.
holder. Um, and I just love and we might have talked about this before. I love the idea of this story. I love the families feuding. I love
Mhm.
the idea of like the great houses of wrestling
Right.
feuding. I just think and not even like feuding, but like in a I hate you kind of way. And yes, there is that, but it's just like it's just this it's so much bigger than that, and
Right.
it sounds dramatic, and it
Well
is, but it's just, like, it's such a good story, there's so much meat to it.
do you I don't know if you ever heard the beginning, like, line, the opening line of, like, Cody's theme song. It's like it hits and it's like professional wrestling has more than one, like, famous family, or, like, royal family is how it goes. And
I did
that
not know that.
well, that kind of, like, started when he left the WWE, like, using that theme and all that stuff. So that was kind of a knock at, like, the McMahons and, like, there is more
Mm,
than one royal family, like, in wrestling, and, like,
period.
it just, again, like, dovetails so nicely into this because it is a very much a, like, family feud. Because, and they touch on it, but, like, um, Roman's father and, uh Cody's father, like, did battle back in the day. Um,
Love.
and there was a point in Dusty's career where he actually, like, won the title, but wasn't allowed to keep the title. So there was this kind of, like, sense that he was, like, robbed of it. And that's something
Mm,
that Cody's trying to correct.
love.
That's what he's trying to, like, amend, because his father could never get it done. His brother didn't do it, so now he feels like it's on him to kind of like restore that like respect and that uh like my family has the ability to get this done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just seems and, like, you never know anybody really unless you meet them, but he just seems like like a very nice guy, like, very humble, very at least in this documentary, that's how they present him,
Right.
which could be marketing, you never know what clips they're
Right.
cutting together, like, you don't know, but for how they portray him in this documentary and me knowing basically nothing about him other than I remember him from when we watched AEW,
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
so that's how I knew him.
And that was Yeah. So basically, so Cody was in WWE back in the day. When he was like early like 20s. Um, he was there for about like 6 years. He was like part of a faction with Randy Orton. He did end up like having to do this like what was called like a Stardust character, which was essentially just like a knockoff Goldust, which he
Oh.
hated, didn't want to do. Like, wasn't he's like, this isn't my thing. That's my brother's thing. Like, why am I doing it?
Mm-hmm.
But essentially that led to him leaving the WWE. And then what he did was essentially like bet on himself in that like he was like, I'm gonna take he's like they have no opportunities for me here, clearly based on what they're giving me. So what
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm he basically wrestled on any and all independents that you can think of.
Wow.
Any and all. He was all over the world. He was in Japan, he was in TNA. He purposefully wouldn't sign to anything. Wouldn't like commit to be
Mm.
like, oh, like Cody Rhodes is part of this brand until he had a hand in making AEW. So until he
Mm.
had a
Okay.
hand in like that being like partially his baby, um, that's when he like committed to being there. Um,
Work.
so that all, Cody essentially like in AEW books himself into a corner where he can never win the world championship. And I'm sure there were other things backstage that we will never know about, other
Of
wrestlers
course.
coming in, disagreements with Tony Khan, what I don't know. We'll never know. Cody seems pretty tight-lipped about the whole thing. He doesn't ever like badmouth AEW,
Mm-hmm.
but he won't ever like kind of like uh give us the details.
And
So
that's like, I respect it. And then
yeah,
like they'll get to a point where he's like old and retired and we'll get the tell all
we'll get
book.
the tell all. Yeah.
And that's
Um,
and that's fine. I'll wait for it.
but he essentially said, like, I came back to do this, to do this story. That is why I came back to like the
Love.
WWE. So he's essentially been after one goal the entirety of the time that he's been back.
Love.
Yeah.
And I love it sometimes that like single-minded purpose, like in a character when you're watching
Hmm.
something like that, because it's just like, what, again, it's like, I know what my North Star is. I am just plotting and scheming to get to that. And
Hmm.
so it's kind of nice because you just always remember, like, you're never like, what is his deal again? You already know because it's
Right.
been the same. And I love
Right.
that. Um, so he lost to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39, and
Hmm.
Paul Heyman says as soon as the 3 count was up, people were clamoring for the rematch. Like they were already like, no, no, no,
Right.
like we got to do this again. And Roman Reigns has been champion for it was like almost 4 years
Yeah. It was
or
like three
something.
and a half years.
Crazy
Hmm. And
long time.
unheard of. Not since like, oh God, since like the 50s, the 50s or 60s.
Wow.
Have they had a champion that long?
That's crazy to me.
Mhm.
Um, so at so there's a part with Cody where he says this is at SummerSlam 2023, and he says we don't always get the fairy tale ending that we want, as we all know, because like he lost to
Right.
Roman Reigns. He goes, but I'm gonna keep trying. Like he's just gonna keep trying. And
Mhm.
I think Roman and Cody say this at one point where they're like, I just kind of do my job every day because I never know. I never like settle into what I think is happening until it's actually happening because it can change on a dime literally like the day before.
Right.
So he's like,
I
so they're
saw
always like,
I saw a Twitter clip yesterday of two wrestlers finding out that their that was supposed to be on television gets canceled 30 seconds before they're supposed to go out. And they're just standing there like so they're literally getting ready to go out, like they're like hyping themselves up, like dealing with the butterflies, whatever. And then someone comes behind the curtain and he's like, this match is canceled, and she's like, shut up, you're lying. And he's like dead, like dead serious. He's like, and they're just standing there. Like, that's how quickly things happen sometimes.
no,
Like, you are literally getting ready to go be in front of people and they're like, nope, we're doing something different. And like, you just have to be prepared to do whatever that is. Like, and that's crazy.
that is crazy. This is slightly off topic, but that also just happened to Kiana Lede, like the singer, except
Mm.
then they came back and said, never mind, you're going on. And she was like, they had like canceled her going on, and she was like, okay. And they started like packing up to leave. She was opening for somebody, and then suddenly they came back. They're like, okay, you got to get on. Sorry, we changed our mind. And she was
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
like,
And
okay.
apparently it's less, so I've heard it is less of a thing under Triple H. He's more of a like, I'll let you know as much of the plan as I can let you know to like give you
Right,
foresight. He's
right.
also a big person on like wrestlers being able to like attend family things, like actually
Love.
have some semblance of a work-life balance, which did not exist before, as we know.
Yes.
So but and again probably stems from somebody who has had to miss a bunch of very important moments
Right.
to,
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
to keep going. So
That's what I was gonna say. It's like because he was a working wrestler for many, many years. It's like
yeah,
he knows what it takes to be a working wrestler.
right,
So yeah, like there's gonna be mistakes because you're in charge and like being at the helm of something that big is crazy, but like you're gonna do the best you can because you've been in the situation where people aren't necessarily doing the best they can for you.
right.
But I digress. Um, so Triple H says the intent was to give Cody a hot year, love that term, and then have Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. But there was another quote blockbuster story that also had to be pieced in, and that was The Rock, basically. So The Rock had period if you are just listening and not watching, Brittany, Xavier's sister, bought him the WWF Music Volume 5, and it's just The Rock holding a cherry pie on the cover.
Yes,
Xavier brought it for show and tell today.
shout out to my sister. It has bangers with theme songs from China,
Work,
uh Rikishi,
work.
Triple H, Billy Gunn.
No,
Um,
I'm just kidding.
no,
Canceled.
I didn't say rockabilly. I said Billy Gunn.
Okay, fair, 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 fair. Um, so apparently The Rock had like co-signed Roman Reigns or acknowledged him, quote unquote, like all the way back in 2015 at the Royal Rumble. Like he had come out and like they did a little "you're my cousin" hug kind of
Yeah,
thing
it's something that's been like teased for a
for a
decent
long
amount of time.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's almost 10 years ago, 2015. That's
correct.
crazy. So they've so I wrote literally been talking about this storyline for almost damn near a decade. Um and I wanted your opinion about this and it does come up throughout the whole thing where it's because The Rock says that people have been asking for The Rock and Roman Reigns to wrestle together for years. And later, like I was like, I wonder if that's true or not. Because sometimes The Rock is like, but there
No,
were
okay.
people definitely
So
pining for it. But I wanted to know how you felt about this.
I'm gonna be frank.
Yes, I knew
In
you would, and that's why I wrote down to ask
Okay,
you.
to me that sounds like I want justification for doing, like, for my behavior. So I'm gonna make it sound like everybody's just been dying for this for 10 years.
Okay.
When I tell you like people were like generally excited that that could be a thing, sure, yeah, of course, why not? The Rock is one
Mm-hmm.
of the biggest names to ever lace up a pair of boots, and Roman Reigns is the most dominant champion like in modern history, and they're related. Why would you not want to do that?
Of
That's
course.
great. That's fine and dandy.
It's a layup.
Um,
Yeah.
but to make it sound like we were all just like waiting on bated breath for this match to
For a
happen,
decade.
it's not the case.
Oh, okay.
It's just not. Like people like were excited about it, sure, but like people didn't even realize it was a possibility until The Rock like came back.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, because it's like you can come out and support him all you want, but it's not like you were like you're wrestling right now. So I wouldn't even really like put that together. I mean,
Right,
like
and not for
maybe,
nothing, for the
but
last 10 years, The Rock has not been
around.
around. Like he pops in here and there, has a little moment, but like The Rock has not been present in WWE television like regularly in years and years. Most of that 10-year period, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
He I believe left the first time in like '03. So like retired the first time in like '03.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes back in like 2016, feuds with like Cena. Don't see him again for another 10 years. Like, so it's not like there was enough happening with this feud to be like, oh, people were clamoring. I was like, people forgot. Like, not for
Uh,
nothing, like, I wouldn't have, like, remembered that moment that you had, like, acknowledged him in 2015. Baby, I had, like, what? I graduated high school 2 years prior. Like, I was so far up my own ass, there's no way I could, like, pay attention to
remember
whatever
that.
that was. I wasn't
Yeah.
remembering that. So,
No.
like, until they put it in this documentary, like, I wasn't clamoring for this match. I'm just
Okay.
gonna say that.
I just wanted to know because I was like, I know Xavier will give me the tea.
If I had if they had done it, would I have wanted to see it? Sure,
Sure, of
absolutely. But like
course.
I wasn't like, this is what I've been waiting
Begging
for.
for it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I that's what I felt like the vibe was. It felt kind of just like, and we'll get into it because I sent this is the voice memo I sent Xavier, which we'll get into, but I was like, this feels a little like Hulk Hogan coded.
The Rock really does come off a little Hulk Hogan coated in this, not gonna lie.
Yeah, and you
And
guys
not
know
for
what I
nothing,
mean.
like I just me a personal thing, like I'm not that interested in seeing any part-timer that much.
Oh,
Um
you know what? Period.
Because, like, not for
Period.
nothing, like, if and I get it, like, people do part-time for lots of various reasons. They have, careers outside of the WWE.
Yes.
They've sacrificed their body and not blah, 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 blah. But, like, I'm not, like, the guy who hasn't wrestled in 10 years, like, I'm not like, "Yes, give me, like, that wrestling classic is going to be amazing." I was like,
Right.
"Mm."
Okay. I'll watch it.
And, like, me personally, I never believed that that match needed a title. You don't need it. It's an
A
irrelevant
hundred
accessory to
percent.
that story.
A hundred
Um,
percent.
it's not necessary. You can do the family feud without the belt. You don't need it.
Period. No, I was thinking this because I was like, I don't, and again, I'm new, but even I was like, I just don't feel like this has to be for the belt. Like this
Right.
could just be like a match. Like it doesn't
In
have to
and of
be anything
itself.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, and we'll talk more about it because there's so much more we gotta
Right,
get
right, right.
into. But so The Rock allegedly has his first meeting about like actually making this happen with Nick Khan, who's the president of WWE, in December of 2021. And then they actually teased the match on Young Rock, the TV show about The Rock, which I never watched to be honest. But
I've seen like
bits
bits
and
and pieces.
pieces.
Yeah.
Which was, I believe, created by Nick Khan's sister. Like she was like a huge either a creative producer, she was
Or like
the
an
writer,
executive
I don't
producer or something. Yeah.
something. Um, and they teased it. It was like they had like young Roman Reigns on the show, and he said something like, acknowledge me. And they were like, no, 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 for that type of match, it'd have to happen at WrestleMania.
Right.
And like it was this whole whatever. But the Rock says the deal didn't come together at the time, and it almost sounded just like they didn't give him enough money, or like the pot
To
wasn't
me,
sweet
it sounds
enough.
like the way he was like explaining this, it was like, oh, like we had like been doing all of this things and then we like brought it like to them. Because to me, it like sounds like you've been booking this in your mind. And then you were like, oh, like I'm
Right.
just gonna bring this over and everyone's gonna eat it up because I'm the Rock. Like, and
Like I said,
that's how it felt.
Hulk Hogan coded like a little
Right.
bit.
Hmm.
Or a lot. But he says like, "Oh, the deal didn't come together at the time, like tra la la." But then um WWE is acquired by Endeavor. There's like this huge merger.
Yep.
And things begin to turn in a better direction. So then The Rock goes on the Pat McAfee show in September of 2023 to tease the match for WrestleMania 2024. And he's like, "Oh yeah, the match was like locked. We were locked for WrestleMania 39 and then at the last minute it like fell through." And I was like, "Okay, like I don't know. I just don't like this narrative and maybe I'm wrong. Again, I'm new to wrestling. I'm like but to me like coming in from an outsider, I'm like this just seems like a weird flex but okay."
Right.
So then he goes, "But there's always like WrestleMania 40 coming up in Philly." And everyone's like, like,
Right.
oh. So then I think it's literally the same day. So he's on the show in the morning and then SmackDown was in Denver like that night. And he's like, I'm
Hmm.
just gonna pop over. So on September 15th of 2023, he goes to SmackDown. And everyone like loses their shit. And I get it because if you
Right.
were just sitting there with no expectations of that even being a tiny possibility and suddenly
And
The Rock comes out, you freak out, of
and also the
course.
show is named after.
Right. So
So
you're
it's
gonna, yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah.
me too. I would be
I would
screaming, foaming
no,
at the mouth.
I no,
Unreal.
and like I want to just like preface all of this. Like,
Yes.
we're gonna talk about The Rock a lot in this. We
Duh.
love The Rock. It is not
Love. Oh my God,
that.
love.
It is just the
Love.
impression that was left during this documentary. And part of
Yes.
that very well could be, the character lead, he's playing up the whole
Final
final boss or
boss.
whatever.
Yeah.
That very well could be the thing. But me and Kelsey, in discussing this, Hulk Hogan 2.0.
Period. And listen, I have nothing but love and respect for The Rock.
Right,
Nothing. He is an icon. He is an icon, a legend. He is the moment. Like, he's
right,
legendary. It's the same thing we feel about Hulk Hogan, but I'm not going to read you when you need, I'm not going to not read you when you need to be read. You know what I'm
correct.
saying? Because I would expect the same to happen to me. And
Right,
that's period. Like, whatever, make of it what you will, but none of this comes from a place of hate or
right, right, right.
like I'm dissing his legacy or whatever
No,
he's
no,
got
no.
going on. Love him. Anyway, so then he cuts a promo on New Year's Day 2024. So like WrestleMania is fast approaching. Like it's
Hmm.
like it's coming down the pipelines, 4
Right.
months away. Um and he basically teases that, like, he says, should The Rock, when I go out to dinner tonight,
Yeah.
should The Rock sit in a booth or should he sit at the head of the table?
Right.
Which I do think is genius. Like,
Right. Oh, he's
to
a talker. He's always
edge
been
in,
a talker.
yes, to edge into the idea of, are people still interested in this? Because one thing I learned from this, because the phrase of this episode was, we're trying to see what WrestleMania 40 might look like.
Right.
Might, because again, it's in the moment. We're trying to figure out what it might look like. We're trying to gauge reaction. It's all about, like, I'm gonna say this and see what happens, or I'm gonna do this and see what happens, and then we can, like, kind of start
Navigate from there.
to
Yeah.
focus the picture of what WrestleMania 40 looks like. I'm like, I was sitting there and I'm like, I am on edge. It's like 4 months away. It's the biggest WrestleMania
Ever.
potentially, and ends up being, of all time,
Hmm.
and we're still like, we don't even really know what's gonna happen yet. Like, crazy. So
Hmm.
he says that, people tweak, of course. Um, so then we get this idea of Rock versus Roman Reigns, which I will say I am sort of, and I'm new. I'm not up on the family, on like why they would feud instead of like their family. So they're like, because like, why do people want to see them wrestle against each other versus together
I think it's
just for
because
fun?
they're both like, by most definitions, they are like the standouts of the family. Like those
So
two in
who's, yeah.
particular. So
So
it's like
who's
a
like
who's really the best
the
of
head of the
the clan.
family, the
Yeah,
head of the
exactly.
table. Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, interesting,
Yeah, it
interesting
would be a battle for
distinction.
like the tribal chief kind of
The
situation,
tribal
like
chief,
where
love.
it's like, yeah. So that was kind of the intention behind the feud.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So Paul Heyman says, when The Rock came back, suddenly we had a lot more options of which way the story can go. And that is true, because like originally it's just like Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes rematch, but now all these other avenues have opened up, of Rock versus Roman Reigns, whomever other pieces
Hmm.
and players we want to put into it. And then Triple H says, you can make the argument that, I thought this was interesting. You could make the argument that The Rock versus Roman Reigns is a bigger match than Rhodes versus Reigns to people outside of our world, like as in they want to draw in mainstream success, because The Rock has transcended
He is the
the
highest
world of
paid
wrestling.
actor in the
Yes,
world. So
right.
yeah,
So
like
to draw in a crowd outside of the world of wrestling,
right,
like that could potentially, on paper,
right.
be a bigger match. Um, I feel, and again, they get to this point, and I understand why. Like, you want mainstream success. And I will say, regardless of what happened, like this WrestleMania, we talked about it a million times, on more platforms than I've ever seen it, like on
Right.
accounts I would have never expected to post WrestleMania content. Like, it was everywhere,
Everywhere. And like
everywhere.
being in Phil, everywhere. It was
Yes,
everywhere.
everywhere. I get that, but it's like, I have that thing and it's not good. It's where I'm like, I am so like, I'm loyal to a fault, where it's like, I always want to serve the people who have been here.
Correct.
Like, and so hardcore wrestling fans, like, that's like, I know what match I would have wanted. and it's
Right.
the one that ends up happening. But at the moment, like, I know which one I would have wanted
Right.
more,
Mhm.
like, as a fan, as
Mhm.
opposed to, like, just a person who's like, "Oh, I'll watch it." You know what
Right.
I mean? And I'm not trying
Mhm.
to shit on those people because I was that person. But, like, I I know who I would want to serve, and that's the fans that have been there every single Raw, SmackDown for the
Mhm.
last X amount of years.
Right. I
So
agree.
that's how I feel.
And
But
especially having gotten to this point, you gotta remember now, like, we're talking January 2024. We've now been essentially being fed the Cody story for, like, a year and a half, over a year and a half at this point.
yeah,
So, like, up to this point, like, it has been made pretty much very clear, like, it's going to be Cody, it's going to be Cody, it's going to be Cody. So, like, we spent a year and over a year and a half, like, building up to this whole thing, like, finish the story, can he finish the story, blah 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 blah. And it's like, then all of a sudden they were just going to be like, nope, never mind. that's
yeah.
that's the part that pissed people off, is
Of
like,
course.
why would you bring us on this whole thing for almost 2 years just to pull the rug from
Just to
underneath us?
pivot.
Right.
Yeah. Which
Almost
feels
unnecessarily
unnecessarily,
so, yeah.
period. Um, then things change even more because The Rock joins the TKO board of directors. So now he's like really he's
Yeah,
got the spoon
he's an
in the pot.
executive now, yes.
Yes. Which will lend itself to his character, which I do like. I love that
Yes.
idea. But so then he says, like, so then we start to explore what the other main event could look like. So, because WrestleMania is going to be 2 days, so there are opportunities for multiple main events, which is amazing. And I
Mhm.
think Paul Heyman might have said it. It's like a good opportunity. You get to highlight so many amazing
Mhm.
talents because you have more time, like
Right.
more time for main events. Like you just get to highlight all some more people in your roster.
Right.
Um, Royal Rumble happens just 4 days after Rock joins TKO, the board of TKO. Um, and I guess at Royal Rumble, the media was going berserk trying to ask Cody like what his thoughts were about this because it's seeming like it's leaning more and more towards Rock versus Roman Reigns. And that very day, Triple H, because like you said, he will tell you what he knows when he knows it. And he was like, I had to tell Cody, like, um, this might be the thing. Like, it might not be, you might not be the main event at WrestleMania, even though you've been working for this. Like, he had to have that conversation with him, which I respect.
Right.
But also, like, so now Cody has to act normal because
Mhm.
Triple H says he's the only one that knows that information because he had to tell him to like
Mhm.
get his mind around it. And so he's doing all these interviews and like podcasts and stuff. And they're like, do you think that the story gets finished at WrestleMania? And he's like, I can't say for sure, but I feel like it has to be finished at WrestleMania. Like that's
Mhm.
just how I feel.
Mhm.
But Triple H literally goes, I'm sure that was a brutal day for him because
Right.
he just had to do the Royal Rumble. And as
Right.
we know, he wins.
Yeah. And as so so he's told essentially he's not going to be in the Roman main event.
Hmm.
And it is was already decided before the Royal Rumble, because this was the plan, that it was going to be um Seth Rollins and CM Punk. So
Right.
he's
Yes.
not, so technically Cody is now no longer in either main event.
Yeah.
He's not, so he's basically just sitting there like, okay, but what about me now? Like, you literally just did this for 2 years almost,
Yep.
like, and now you're telling me I'm not, like, I might not even be like on the card, like,
That's crazy.
what is going on?
That's
Like,
crazy. And like, because even if you think about it, they're saying Cody Rhodes is having a hot year. To have somebody who is one of your main eventers, your main talents, having the best year to lead up to this, and then to not even have him on the card in anything, like for at least
meaningful,
in that moment, and anything meaningful,
right?
like that is just why that just can't happen. Like
Right.
that's crazy. And I
That's
think
heartbreaking.
obviously,
Yeah.
yes, it's devastating, especially again, like as a fan, you're like, I don't understand. Because like
Right.
now I'm invested in this, and now what?
Right.
Like whatever, but it's wild. And obviously they clocked it because Triple H says like we had to have him win the Rumble though, because if he had lost, it would have looked
Hurt
bad
him.
on him. It
Yes.
would have hurt his career or just hurt his momentum at
Right.
least.
Correct.
And I this cracked me up. So he wins And they just don't like, because then he gets to choose if he wants to fight Seth Rollins and if he wants to fight Roman Reigns. So Seth and Roman are watching the Royal Rumble. And when Cody wins, there was like a guy sitting in front of Roman Reigns's box, and he's wearing the American Nightmare shirt, and he just turns around. They show this for like 15 seconds. This guy just going like this and screaming in Roman's face, like, "You're next, like you're next." Like he was so I was like, I love this guy.
Amen.
Love this guy. In perpetuity will live for like
Love
love.
that. Love that. Love that.
So Cody Rhodes says, if it all ends tomorrow, this is in a press conference after the Royal Rumble. If it all ends tomorrow, this has been the greatest experience of my life, but it's not gonna end tomorrow because we still have to finish this damn story. And so that's when Triple H says, my gut was that if Cody fails, this damages him. So we got to have him win the Rumble, and then we got to see what the reaction is and go from there. So like I said, Cody knew the story was shifting, but had to continue to act normally through all these like next wrestling events. And he said, I don't know how I feel. I don't believe anything until I'm standing in the ring and it's happening. And I just put, okay, me. Yeah. Don't believe anything until it's literally happening. So, like you said, Seth Rollins' initial match for WrestleMania was CM Punk, but CM Punk ended up injuring himself getting injured during the Royal Rumble, and that changes everything. So now Seth is up in the air, Cody is up in the air, but it's like people are still clamoring for Cody Roman. So they're like, okay, so how do we now involve Seth Rollins in that story? Like, so now how do we weave all of them together? So that's when Cody's like comes out and he's supposed to make his decision, and Seth Rollins comes out and is like, if you fight Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, it'll be a mistake. You should fight me instead.
Right.
Which I don't really get the why.
No, it was all very confusing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that makes no sense.
Right.
Like,
no, it didn't make sense to the fans either. That's why they got mad.
Okay, great. Because clocked it. Again, right. Clocked it. And Triple H says, if you relax and let the process take place, something magical will come out of this chaos. That chaos leads to greatness, but you have to have the patience to let it play out. And that's why it's such like a like it's not a waiting game, but there's like patience, and then like you have to snatch things that like kind of like flare up. Like,
yeah, it's a game of opportunity. You know what I mean?
Oh my god,
like,
it's crazy. It's almost like whack-a-mole. Like, I don't know, it's just like bah. Like you just have to like
you gotta hit it on the head when it comes, you know?
Yeah, you gotta strike while the iron's hot. So a few days later on SmackDown, the time has come to clear up what's actually going to happen at WrestleMania 40, and they talk to Cody in the bus, his tour bus, and he just says, "Forgive me if I don't seem overly enthusiastic
about what's going on." Yeah,
about what's happening, which understandable. Again, it's interesting because he's not necessarily like overtly angry, but he's just like you can feel the frustration.
Yes.
Even though he's so good at like tapping in and like not, you can feel it. Like
yes, I agree.
So Cody comes out, Roman Reigns is out there, and he's like chatting it up, and he's like, like, we've had this beef. I want to finish the story, but I'm not gonna fight you at WrestleMania 40. I've been consulted by a lot of people this week, and one of them knows you very well and like has some beef to settle with you. Rock music comes on,
right?
And The Rock comes out. They shake hands. They have this little moment, him and Cody, and then Roman Reigns and Rock just have the stare down.
And Cody looks miserable the whole time.
Miserable.
The whole time.
Like, so bad. And again, he's so good because he sells it enough. And I think because The Rock kind of takes over as like the main focus, he can be a little like, okay, this is like, I'm just mad. I'm just upset. So he can kind of be like, okay,
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I literally put Cody is obviously upset. And initially the reaction is very positive. Like, people freak out. They're like, whoa, oh my god, it's happening. Or at least that's again could be marketing. They show clips of YouTubers going like,
yeah, no, and people were excited. Absolutely.
Yes,
like, again, it is a big match. Like, that is not like, it's not that it's a bad match. It's just not the one we wanted.
Correct. Right. So Cody says, you know, I have to believe the fans won't lose faith in me and like lose like an attachment to this story.
Mhm.
And Triple H says, you know, obviously his next question to me is like, well, where does that leave me? And I'm like, not sure yet. And that's on me to figure out because this is all happening in real time and we're going to see what the reaction is. And the reaction ends up being hashtag we want Cody trends for 72 hours straight.
Right. Which is
Be- a period.
right. That's not nothing. That's
That's
hard to
not.
do
It's
just
not.
generally, let alone a wrestling topic be trending for that long.
For that long. That's a
Mhm.
long time, and people are literally with printer paper, hashtag we want Cody at the match.
Right.
Like, they were, like, rallying on the spot. They were like, "Got
Mhm.
it." Um, and so The Rock says there's only 2 options in wrestling ever. You can either truck through what you've already decided, or you can truly take in what the fans are saying and pivot.
Mhm.
And it's crazy how I love wrestling fans so much. Let me just I love you all so much because the way that you will turn on a dime and let
Mhm.
everyone know what you like and don't like because it went from chanting "This is awesome" when The Rock came out to fight Roman Reigns, or like when they had their little face
Mhm.
off, the "This is awesome,"
Mhm.
to Rocky sucks anytime anyone mentioned
That
him.
callback. That's a callback
Love.
too. That's that they did the same thing the first time they turned on him.
Period.
They
We're literally watching
and
it in
we're
real
watching it in
time on
real
the
time.
other show.
Mhm.
Like, it's just great. So it went 1 week, this is awesome, to next week, Rocky sucks.
Right.
Love to see it. So Rock says we decide to pivot. Uh, Rock also talks about the desire to pull a larger audience, but says that I don't know, I feel bad, but this whole thing kind of like gave me the ick where he's like,
Mm.
you know, The Rock versus Roman Reigns pulls a larger audience. And does it? Yes. It absolutely does. I'm not denying that, but the way it's said, the tone, it just gives me the ick,
Mhm.
whatever. Um, but says he doesn't like that even if it's just a small tidbit of fans that are
Segment of the
upset,
fans.
segment of fans. I was like, some word I hated. Segment of
Mhm.
fans that are upset. I can't live with that. I've never operated like that in my career. But I'm like, but you were a heel. Wasn't your job making fans upset? Like, not upset, but
Yeah, but yeah,
quote
but this
unquote.
was more of a like this is not like I am like bad mouthing the fans, so they're like, mad at me.
They're
This is like
disappointed.
this is like I'm an executive in a company and people don't like the decisions we as a company are making.
Oh,
So
okay.
there is a level of like I have to save face more so than in previous, when he was
Okay.
just a wrestler.
Okay, period. That's a good distinction. Because also, not for nothing, like, I feel like in terms of his career, it was the right decision to like be like, because the outside perspective, again, Hulk Hogan 2.0, where it's like, I'm on the board and now I'm the main eventer because I said so. Like, that's kind of what it looks like. If
Yeah,
you
that
just
is what
take
it
it
looks like.
down
And that's
to
the
the brass
story that
tacks,
like they
people
end up
ran with.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So
So they have to be like, so even as a face saver, to be like, never mind.
right.
I will let that happen
Right.
instead. Is like, it's better for your image, even just in that
Regard.
derivative type of perspective. Um, so they pivot. So The Rock goes back on, now I'm scared to say this, the Pat McAfee show.
McAfee.
McAfee. Okay, Pat McAfee. Rock goes back on the Pat McAfee show
Mhm.
and he starts getting into the heel persona, which we love to see. No one
Mhm.
is upset by that.
The
We always
Cody
see it. The
Crybabies.
Cody Crybabies is born. And I love that he did this little thing where he goes like, I'm sorry, what did I say it was? Oh, the Cody Crybabies. Ha ha. Like, I actually love
He's so
that.
good. Yeah, he
He's
loves
amazing.
when he's like really in his character, he's really, really phenomenal. Like no
Yes.
no ifs,
No,
ands, or buts
no
about it.
notes. No
He's
notes.
such a shit talker. Like so good.
Period. And it's what he thrives at, which is why in our regular show, I can't wait for that to happen because I am
Mhm.
so ready. Um, so they pivot. They have a press conference. I thought this was genius. They have a press conference in Las Vegas during Super Bowl weekend, and I'm sure this is probably when they also negotiated WrestleMania 41 being in Las Vegas. I'm assuming. Like, duh, right? Okay,
Yes.
period. Xavier's nodding if you're not watching.
Nick Khan was having meetings during that
Duh.
also.
Which is
Okay.
why I again and we'll cover it at the end, but like there were so many more things I wanted to know. Because like
Mm-hmm.
you get presented with they're in Las Vegas, knowing WrestleMania 41 is gonna be Las Vegas. I'm like, I know they were doing meetings. And
Mm-hmm.
we already know, so now you can tell us, whatever. Um, so they have this press conference where Roman and Rock are out there kikiing, talking about the match coming up. Cody interrupts Love, where he's like,
Mm.
hold on. You two have decided this match, and it's neither of your decision. I didn't even clearly choose who I'm fighting.
Right.
I just said The Rock wants to fight you. I didn't say it was going to be that fight. Like, I still get to decide, and I choose you, Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People, I love the crowd reaction. People are literally like,
Yep.
love, because
A-
me.
And this is the first time they've really uh kind of taken advantage of this new like format of like press conference and
Ooh,
because
okay.
before like pay-per-view press conferences it was literally here's a backdrop, here's a table, wrestlers come out, they all like line themselves up on on the stage, you ask, like it's just like a regular media scrum, people ask questions, they answer the questions, everybody goes home. This
Period.
was a production, this was a whole thing. Prior to Cody coming out, like they have the whole bloodline, like the whole bloodline is just like listed, like the family trees just out there, they're
Oh,
like going through, they go through
yeah.
the history, blah blah blah, talking about like what leads to this match between Roman and The Rock. So you literally have to sit through this whole presentation of like how we got to this match, and then Cody's like, this is bullshit actually,
Mm-hmm.
so not what's happening, and
Yeah.
throws a whole wrench
Mm-mm.
into everything. So this
Love.
is the first time they've really kind of taken advantage of the new format, and used it to progress a story instead
And
of
I
it
love
just
that.
being like a like sometimes they in the past they'd have like the main eventers like yell at each other over the microphones, but it was like this was the first time they actually used it as a plot point, because
And that's great.
and it because it was the plot, it was the start of Cody's like official WrestleMania 40 like turn. So
Yes, it was the catalyst. It was the slap heard around the world.
mm-hmm.
And I love that because imagine you were just like, I'm just going to this press conference.
Right.
They're just gonna chat, and suddenly it's the moment. Like
Mm-hmm.
I am so happy for the people that were there because they didn't know that was gonna happen.
No, not at
They're
all.
like,
So
sure, whatever. And then it was just like boom, like crazy.
and it was done so well in that you can believe that like uh yeah, I was like planning on like fighting like, my cousin or whatever, but he just talked about our family.
He just pissed me
So
off. Yeah.
I was like, he just talked about our whole family. So he said,
Yep.
now we have a problem. And you're like,
Now we have a problem.
yeah, and you're like, oh, and that is believable. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Especially like when we're talking about like family feuds, like he came for your family, you're related. Now
Mm.
you're immediately on the same side.
So
You are
here
a united front immediately, and
immediately. And that's the case because I will talk shit about my siblings and my family all day long.
all day long.
But don't you ever say
Mm-mm.
anything
Not a whisper, not a
ever.
peep.
Nothing.
No, no, no. That's
Because
how it
suddenly it's
works.
again, it's like, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah, exactly.
Now you have to get clocked.
Right.
Um, so good. It's so good. Also I love the idea, like you said, of using the press conference because I feel like we've said this before where it's like every moment is a promo for a wrestler because
Every
even when
moment is a promo.
we were watching the 1997 Slammies and they're cutting some of the craziest promos. Stone Cold's cutting some of the craziest promos you've ever heard of.
Right.
And I'm like, at the Slammies, no days off.
No days
So
off.
yes, use the press conference to do something crazy. I
Right.
love that. Every
Mm-hmm.
opportunity available. So as you all know, Cody comes out. He says Roman calls him irrelevant like his father. Oof, ouch. Then
Mm-hmm.
Cody retaliates by saying, like, okay, well, if your father were here, meaning Sika Anawai, and your grandfather was here, to The Rock, meaning High Chief Peter Maivia, they would be ashamed of you. And suddenly
Ashamed of you.
it's like the air leaves the room. Rock comes up, on Nicki Minaj. Do we have a problem? Because now we have a problem. Smacks
Mhm.
Cody Rhodes in the face. Fight breaks out. Slap heard around the world. So, now it's like, okay, so now what do we do with this? We've got the heat, everyone is buzzing about this, everyone is
Mhm.
talking about this. How do we go? Where do we go from here? And Triple H says he and Rock were going back and forth and back and forth with a bunch of ideas. And Rock ends up talking to a man named Brian Gewirtz.
Words. Yeah.
Gewirtz. And he used to be
One of the head writers.
one of the head writers for WWE, and he was for many, many years. And they are the ones together that come up with the idea of the tag team match with a catch. So the result of the tag team match directly affects the out or what will happen in the following match the next day. Love. So immediately they begin shooting new promos, all new photos, all new videos, all new, like, it's on the dime.
Mhm.
Throw everything away. This is what we're doing now. Because we don't know if they were already shooting like Rock and Roman versus each other. We have no idea what already was existed. They said throw it away, wipe it clean, start over.
Right.
Now they're shooting other stuff. And they're talking about how it was crazy having all those huge egos in the room. Like, it's four legends. It's The Rock, Roman Reigns, Seth frickin' Rollins, and Cody Rhodes all just in one
Right. Trying to just
promo.
like piece together a just a story, a match, or whatever. And like, and they say they mention it too. I believe they were like, because it was the four people that it was, like, it was so much easier in that everybody was capable, like everybody was on a certain
Mm.
level,
Yes. Oh, that's such a good
because
point.
like these are like these are the best of the best. These are like, as far as like, this is the biggest show of the year. It is the biggest match on the biggest show of the year, and these are the people you want in that position. These are
Mhm.
the ones that can like adapt, who can like make decisions on the fly and make it look good, who can talk, who can wrestle, who can connect with the fans. Like, these are like as good as the WWE gets. This is it. um
Yeah. I can
so
imagine. I can't imagine, like,
right.
having this because I only saw the end of it and now I'm going back in time, like, learning new things. I can't imagine being in the moment. I would be like, "This
Hmm.
is the craziest
It was
shit I've ever
absolutely
seen."
bonkers. Yeah.
Um, so now, Triple H is talking about, how, like, now it's really getting close, and the tricky part is aligning all of the storylines so that they actually meet at the same point. Like, it's
Correct.
each of them and that's 4 different people coming together and
Correct.
making sure they are all meeting at the same level because it's like each of the storylines have to be even the same degree of, like, hot. Like, you know what I mean?
Correct.
Like,
Yes.
at the same time. Like, I can't imagine. And so this is when Rock transitions into the final boss. Which
Love it.
love, honestly.
It's
Love.
to this is where we talk about like superstars that are great, are really great at adapting, and
Mhm.
to be able to fully think you're coming back and it's going to be one thing, to have to completely 180 that, and then not only like 180 it, but he says this thing, like, because he's like there are certain like limits like put on wrestlers, blah blah blah. He's like, you can't say that. I can say that. I'm not.
Yeah,
Who's gonna get me in trouble? He's like,
it's so
I'm
true.
on the board. So to be able to take um a heel character with the like absolute authority of being like in charge and unchecked, with it being The Rock, it was just crazy. It was crazy. I
Limitless
lived
potential.
for this, like this heel, and the best part is it's not done. It's not done. It's not done.
That's why I'm saying I literally,
That's
like,
why,
I want to get into it because I feel like the tea has not been this hot in
and
a
also
minute.
part, and now that I'm like thinking about it, it's like, is The Rock the way that he is in this because we still have Cody Rock like down the line?
That's a really good point. That is a really good
You know what I
point.
mean?
Is
To
he the heel is extending into the because this is at the end of the day, it is marketing. This wasn't made by a third party like I'm doing an expose on WWE filmed,
produced.
produced, edited. This is again, it never stops. The promos never cease. This is a promo. So that is a really good point. This could just
Right.
be that,
It
well,
could all be a
I made
work
the
for all I
decision.
know.
It
Yeah.
could be a work. It could be a
Because
work.
right now there's a bunch of memes going on. Because if you watch the documentary, The Rock takes credit for a lot of things.
Yep.
So there's like this running meme on like Twitter right now where it's just like The Rock taking credit for like just like absurd, like outlandish things that like he
Love.
clearly could not have done, like, or like things that like predate him.
Like the liberation of the United States or something.
Right.
Like he's like, I decided throw it
Yeah,
in the harbor. Throw that tea in
he
the
was like, it
harbor.
was me, Triple H, Nick Khan. I was like, we really like we planned the Boston Tea Party, and you're like,
I
okay,
mean, we got together and we were like, what does the Boston Tea Party look like?
right,
What is the main event? Throw the tea in the harbor.
right. So,
Love. That's could very well be that.
mhm.
I also love the idea of like The Rock is so adaptable where The Rock, his character, it's The Rock. I mean, his character is so established and he's still willing to do the next thing.
Mhm.
And I think that is
And
so admirable
yeah,
to push the boundaries.
and like even the like the cost, like the super expensive shirts. That was a play on like the stuff he did in the 90s. Like he's like how do I evolve this? How do I give them the like the Rock that they like know and love in a certain regard, but also make it applicable for this is, 15, 20 years later. This isn't the same time. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like to it was just so well done, and it's just because The Rock is The Rock,
Very
but
well done.
he just slipped into it so seamlessly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Managed to give us like nods to his past while simultaneously creating this like ridiculous like power trip character
Mm-hmm.
and just and made us laugh all the while. So
Yeah.
God
I mean,
bless.
he had some delightful little moments. Um, so and even Roman Reigns, he talks about how like the final boss is cool, but not even just him. Like we were all kind of starting to edge the boundaries of what our characters were.
Right.
Like we were
And
all
how you
kind of
fit into a new
testing.
dynamic, like because the
Yeah,
bloodline up to this point, like The Rock is a very big puzzle piece to try and fit in your already well established story.
correct.
So to kind of Roman had to like acknowledge like we still had to figure out what this looked like what we were like even presenting.
Yeah,
So like
completely.
it's crazy like how many things were happening simultaneously.
Right. So then also Seth Rollins was recovering from a knee injury like right before WrestleMania. Like it was he
Yeah.
had like basically like just enough recovery time to be able to wrestle at Mania. Um and he literally said he was like glad I don't get to miss Mania this year, like, and he's like wrestling with a brace and he's like but it'll be off by Mania, like no problem, no problem. And I'm like that is crazy.
Yeah.
Um to like just to have this injury and then to come back and do like one of the biggest matches potentially of your life is wild.
Right, two of
Um,
them because he wrestled the next day
oh
too.
yes, wild. Um, then there's also I love this. There's footage of The Rock working with the tech crew to change his entrance because obviously like
Mm-hmm.
new persona, new entrance, new fit, new
Mm-hmm.
music, like the whole thing. And I love watching that kind of stuff where it's like okay, like if you hit this mark and like even when they talked about he's like I'm gonna push the
The
camera
camera.
away and he
And
says does that work and he goes for a heel yes but I'm gonna keep the camera on you. So you're gonna push it, but it's kind of gonna so they orchestrated so he like pushes it, but it flips kind of back so you still keep him in
you
view.
still see like The Rock like going like yeah,
It's
and those
amazing.
yeah, I find that stuff so fascinating. And like
Fascinating.
and then those are the moments where you see like the psychology of wrestling. Like you have to like
Yes.
take it and like apply it to like actual logistics. Like okay, like
We have this
what is like
idea.
this lighting mean? What is this like if we do this, what is that going to like what message does that give to everybody? Like what
Yep.
does it say about this person, like this wrestler? like and it's just so good. It's so good.
I love shit like that. I love so much attention to detail that it is so seamless. Like the average person, you're just so immersed in it that you
Hmm.
don't even clock it.
That
And
there's
then
so
it's
many things happening.
but it's because it's so immersive you don't notice it. It's
Right.
like like, just even when he says, like, for a heel, yeah, like, that works. Because for
Right.
anybody else, like, that might not work. Like, I don't know, I love the
Mhm.
collaboration that, like, if we light you from up this way, you look more evil. If we light you from the side, you look more
Right.
like a hero. Like, I just love that kind of
Nuance. Like,
stuff.
I love that.
Yes, the
Yeah.
nuance.
Yeah.
Love that stuff. Would have loved to have seen endless hours of that. Would have watched a whole episode on
Oh,
just the tech
same,
side,
same, same, same.
without a doubt. Um, and Triple H comes out while like Rock is like kind of like workshopping the new entrance, and they're talking about like, oh, if you do this, whatever. And he says, when everyone is contributing, that's when it's the best. I'm of the opinion that the best idea comes from everyone.
Mhm.
Very collaborative. um, so, and he says, and the final boss puts a fresh coat of paint on the Rock. Like, it's still the Rock, he's just fresh, it's new, it's exciting. There's a part where like Cody gets his lick back. There's a receipt where they're in the
Mhm.
ring and Rock says, like, I'm on the board. Like, I know all about like the you and your upcoming whatever, and
Mhm.
you were a mistake. Harsh. Cody slaps
Mhm.
him right in the mush. Right in the
Right in
mush.
the mush.
Right in the mush. Um, and they show these clips of Cody. I said they show these clips of Cody that make me feel like he really deserved the belt. But again, this could be just like promo where he's like,
No, I think he did. I think he worked.
no, he
Yeah.
absolutely did.
I
He absolutely did.
think
But it's
yeah.
like, it just makes it endears you to him
Right.
so heartily. Like, I was like,
Mhm.
God, this guy. Because again, me not watching the story in its genesis, I was like, this man's, give
Right.
him the belt. Like, I just want
Mhm.
him to have it. Um, because he is basically talks about like, this could all end tomorrow, and I just hope I gave the fans everything I could, and that's why they are it he says, if I did not have this connection with the people, The Rock would be wrestling at Mania.
It's
I'm
correct.
beyond It's true. I'm beyond blessed that the biggest star in the world came back, and the fans said, hold up, we want him.
Right.
And that's
It,
like,
it's what happened. Like, for all intents and purposes, like The Rock should have gone over as a babyface, should have like just been absolutely cheered all the way to WrestleMania. And Triple H said it also. He's like, if this were any other time and place, Rock Roman would have been it. He's
yep,
like, he said, but as a testament to how popular and over Cody was, we, it wasn't the time.
no. And that is so honorable to me. It's so respectful. Like, I just that to me like must feel so good, because like,
Hmm.
again, it's like that the Hulk Hogan effect where it's like, okay, like, you think you're this like your dreams are coming true, and then you like, I always, oh God, I never stop thinking about Yokozuna. I be thinking
Hmm.
about him, how like you finally get what you feel you've worked extremely hard for, just to have like this quote unquote bigger star, bigger draw in terms of audience or whatever, just come and snatch it because they feel like it.
Right.
And fans were like, and I'm not trying to say that was Rock's motive necessarily. I'm just saying, but that's kind of what it felt
No.
like. And for the fans to be like, mm-mm, mm-mm.
And the thing is, we'd also, like, as fans, seen it a lot.
Yes.
We had seen it
So
a
many
lot. We've
times.
seen part-time people like just come in, take opportunities from people who were really like busting their ass like week over
Yeah.
week. And like, you come in when you feel like coming in and when your schedule allows, and like you want the best opportunities and blah blah blah. So we've seen it up to this point like a few times.
Right.
And I think this last time was just like no, like
Enough is enough.
stop. Enough is enough. Like, at some point, the champion needs to go to the person that's here working for it.
Period.
Not just the
100%.
person that's going to just like, yes, obviously there is like a they have to be able to sell tickets and draw and sell
Yes.
merchandise and blah, blah, blah. That's all part of it. Um, but to me, if you have to constantly outsource that, that means you don't have faith in what you have in your company. And I think I think fans had finally had enough of being like, what's wrong with the wrestlers that are here all of the time? Like, why is that not enough of a, like, why are they not enough to invest in?
Yes. So
To
true.
bring them to that level, instead of trying to rely on nostalgia, or, just like name recognition because they're already at that level.
Mhm.
It's not sustainable. One, because they're not immortal. And two, like you can't just bury your entire company every time somebody big wants to come back. Like
Mm.
you can't
Mm-mm.
just stop. It doesn't work
Mhm.
because then when they leave, you have all of these people who you have to rebuild to do it again.
Yep. And that
So
you have to put in meaningless storylines in the meantime. And not
correct,
necessarily meaningless, but, like, you have to, like, find a place for them.
right,
And they already had one,
correct.
just to make room for somebody, quote, unquote, bigger. Like, I don't know. I 100% agree. I totally
And
hear
yeah,
that.
and again, I think that like they had just had enough of that, and I think that's why like the response was so visceral,
Love.
because it was just like we love the Rock, we absolutely love the Rock. That's not the gag. The
Mhm,
gag is
mhm.
like you have been giving us a story for over almost 2 years. Don't make me invest all of that time and energy watching something if you're just gonna be like, and
Mhm,
throw it away anyway. Like,
mhm.
what does that say about how you feel about my time and
Oh,
my investment and my money?
yep,
So,
yep.
you know what I'm saying? And also, you're never gonna please all of the fans.
Nope.
That's never gonna happen.
Mhm.
But if you've spent that much time in a story, you have to see it through. Like
Yes!
you have to give the people the payoff or deal with them being very upset. Like,
Yes!
and like the more you do that, the less they trust you. The less that
Right.
they trust that you're going to give them something that they actually want.
Yep.
So,
And that's yeah.
and that was the big gag with like Vince is like people didn't trust Vince like to like give the people what they wanted.
Mhm.
A lot of times it was he would take the first option, which was we're just going to truck through
Truck
the
through it.
decision that I've made.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the way that it was. And again, also a lot of this, I think it swung so nicely because it's like it also coupled with the changeover in like uh what am I thinking of? I change over in the company of like who has the reins. It
Yes. The
all
passing of
that
the
was
torch.
also happening at the same time. So
Oh,
not only is
crazy.
like beside behind the scenes having a huge overhaul, merging with another combat sports company, getting an entire new team of like executives, all that stuff's happening behind the scenes. You have a new creative director. Um, and then you also are simultaneously like trying to like piece together all of these moving parts with people getting injured and people coming back and like here's a story that we've been telling for 2 years but here's another like kind of interesting story. Like it's I there are so many moving parts just talking about it right now. Like I'm overwhelmed, like let alone
Overwhelmed.
living it.
Oh, it's
Crazy.
crazy. But yeah, especially now that you brought like the McMahon of it all into it, it's like that was literally like to flowers to Triple H. He pulled off the biggest WrestleMania of all time in like one of the most tumultuous times
Correct.
of the company.
Correct.
That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I have so much respect for him. Like the everything about it was 10 out of 10. I mean, like even the Hall of Fame, amazing. The
Amazing.
choices, the speech, like everything, how it was orchestrated, amazing. Bringing back the Slammies, crazy. Like, just
Oh, that was
every,
fun.
uh, like the two
I
nights of
was
WrestleMania of like the craziest, most amazing storytelling matches we've seen in a while,
Yeah.
and it
And
was
they
all happening during like the most chaotic lawsuit, and there's been many.
yeah. And it's still like and the thing is like this like is informing so much of like the storytelling we're seeing now. Because now, like, even from
Yes.
this story, we still have like the final boss is going to come back at some point.
Hmm.
Um, we now have an entirely new bloodline
Oh
essentially like going
yeah.
off.
Oh,
So I believe there's going to be some kind of like bloodline civil war thing happening.
work. Love that.
Where does The Rock fall in that? Who knows? There's
Yeah,
just so
like
many like cool things. There's they have this whole thing with they're called the Wyatt Six, which are like it's a Bray Wyatt like group essentially, of like his followers. But
Mm.
but the whole thing is like they brought on like horror movie directors to like do their segments, and like and they got on like professional like they used social media to like kind of like creep everybody out that they were coming, and like
Love.
it's just like they're the WWE is now using all of the things to their like dispose at their disposal that I think the old guard was afraid of using or didn't know how to
Mm.
use or use well.
Mhm.
Because we're living in an age, everybody knows everything. Everybody knows everything, or everybody thinks they know everything. So it's like
Mhm.
this documentary, brilliant, brilliant.
Brilliant.
Well,
It's
everybody already knows. Just tell them. Just
just
tell
tell
them what
them.
really happened.
Oh my God,
Then
it's
you
so
control the
true.
narrative.
It's so true. And again, it's that idea of like how oh my God, we used to say it all the time how like Vince almost got to this point where it was like people felt like he was like thought they were stupid. Like you were questioning not that where he was giving you like the plumber that like you are
Oh,
like
insulted their
insulting my
intelligence.
intelligence. Thank you.
Right.
Insulting my intelligence because like we already know. So now like we're saying, you know, I know, let me just give you the facts.
Right.
Like, and let's
Like,
just be real with each other.
mm-hmm.
Let's just be real. And that's what I love about it, especially like, again, where you're navigating in you're navigating within the age of information. So it's like
Correct.
people know, and if they don't know, they're still going to talk about it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything.
Right.
So you might as well just give them the tea.
Correct. It's
Love.
great. And
Love.
like the thing they did like just using it to like further your stories. Like, why can't
Yes.
feuds be baby, you know how many social media beefs have led to like real fights? Like, let's go. Like
Uh,
that's real life. People be feuding on Twitter all the time. What do you
love.
mean?
And I love a Twitter feud.
Oh, oh, please.
I
In high school, that was like practically a personality trait.
absolutely, it'd be like 20 more tweets, click, expand. Like
Say less.
scroll down. I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting to the root of this and
100%.
climbing
Screenshot,
up the
screenshot,
tree. Yeah.
screenshot.
Without a doubt.
And then send it to the group chat. Did you see?
Did you see this?
Yeah.
Crazy. Um, circling stuff on markup, going crazy.
Mhm.
Um, love. Again, this could have been longer, but
I agree. I
uh
agree.
so The Rock says taking the fans on this journey with us is the most rewarding part. We are always tenants to the fans, and then meanwhile it like cuts to this clip because he is a heel and it's literally he says we're always tenants to the fans, and then they hard cut to this clip of him going the number one city in the country for coke and meth use is Phoenix, Arizona. And obviously they were in Phoenix,
Hmm.
Arizona. And people like, when I tell you people screamed,
Yeah.
like blood curdling screams. Um, and he also like, he's writing songs and singing. He's
Oh
playing the
yeah.
piano
Also
at the
a nod
gig.
to stuff he used to do.
Yeah. So
So fun.
and then he even, oh God, he even does the Moana song.
Oh yeah. He snuck that in
To
there.
Cody's mother. We're bringing the mothers into this. I always love when they bring the family members into
Mm,
this. Um, and he beats the crap out of Cody at one point, like outside. He's like throwing him into the bus. Cody's
mm-hmm.
gushing blood, whipping him with the belt.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, there's one part like where it's towards the end of the episode, and he goes, "No, this doesn't end just because the episode ends. You think the beating stops just because we've cut the cameras?" And he keeps beating
Oh, I
him like
love it. It was so good. Because
crazy.
that they took that and then put it on
Put it on
social
the next
media.
step. Oh, on social media. Okay, love.
So that's what they did.
Love.
Yeah. So as soon as the episode ends, essentially like maybe like 5 minutes later, you get like a WWE exclusive, and it's just The Rock like still beating the hell out of Cody. He's like where are you going? I was like he's like get over here. I was like episode's not done. Like I was like what? Just because like we're off air, psh, and like it's beating him. It's
The
crazy.
tea. They should have live streamed on like World Star.
Amen.
Like, coming to you live from the parking lot.
So good. So
Crazy.
good.
It's so good. It's so good. So he says like he becomes this insurmountable antagonist, like you said. He's just like there is nothing that can touch him. He's not gonna get in trouble. He's in charge. Um, and he says being entertaining to the fans is all that matters. So like even if he's being crazy, even if he's saying the most
Mhm.
insane, ludicrous, whatever, as long as it's entertaining to the fans, that's what counts. And it's
Right.
true. Again, we've talked about this all the time. It's like if you're passe about a wrestler, that's a career killer and we don't
Right.
care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you hate me with all your guts or you love me with your all your heart, works for me as long as
Right.
it's working for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um and Triple H says when you start putting all these minds in a room together and collaborating together to make something great, there's nothing that can touch it. So the creative team is just like the juices are flowing, everyone is working well together. And then they cut to a few days before WrestleMania. Cody has dinner with his family. And I wanted to ask about this. I don't know if you know about this, but about Cody's relationship with his brother. And I only ask because
They're closer
Dust
now. Yeah.
Okay. Because Dustin, we are watching him now, like, or on
Mm-hmm.
the other show as Gold Dust. So I'm like, but he wasn't in this at all. Like, I think he might have been at the dinner. I like literally went back and watched like 4 times to try and like
They have no, I mean they're much closer now.
okay.
I think then they've talked about this. Like there was like an like resentment kind of earlier in their lives, in that Cody got more time, with their father, as their father was like
Right.
more of an active wrestler during Dustin's life than during Cody's. But I'm pretty sure now they're pretty kosher.
Okay.
Because they did work together in AEW and they were chill. They
Word.
had a one match against each other that was phenomenal, but they also like teamed past that. So I think they're fine.
Okay. I always curious.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, oh, what was I gonna say? Oh, because there's also like kind of a decent age gap between them, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know, like 10, 12 years, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So and he thanks everybody. He's like, seems like he goes, who was here last year? He goes, oh, basically all the same people I had last year are here again this year.
Hmm.
Well, we're back at Mania. Da da da. Also, I just want to say his wife is so fine. She
Oh,
is
yeah.
so fine.
She's so pretty. I love
Love
her.
her. So and he says, this is the same feeling I had walking into WrestleMania 39, but I would like a different feeling walking out. It can be mine if I take it, and I want to take it. Crazy. And he says, oh, Triple H then says the pressure to deliver is massive, but it's kind of what you live for. It's why you do what you do. It's the adrenaline rush. And I
Hmm.
literally said to Xavier yesterday, I was like, I feel like I don't feel like I know, like you would thrive in this environment. You would thrive in this environment of the go, 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 go,
Oh,
go,
yeah.
like
That is
by
my
any
whole existence is
necessary.
just go, go,
Yes,
go.
by any means necessary, this shit's going up. Like it's
Right.
going off, it's going up, and like you are like the perfect level of like everyone loves you so much and like wants to do exactly what you want, but you also are not you don't coddle anybody. Where it's
Mm.
like the job is getting done. So like sometimes it's like, oh man. And then you're like, ah, but I love Xavier. I'm gonna do it. Like I feel like you would just you would run that like the Navy. Like
Oh,
it'd
thank
be
you. Literally no higher compliment. Love that.
like I just could picture you doing it so bad. Like the headset and you're like, let's check the pyrotechnics. Oh, make that higher. Okay, like let's go, let's go. Oh, next
Mhm.
thing, next thing, next thing. And I want to like be running behind you with a clipboard.
Oh,
Like,
love
okay,
that.
okay, okay.
Let's make it happen.
Period.
Manifesting.
Okay. It already did. It already happened. Um and yeah, like so Triple H is running around in like the headset. He's clocking entrances. He's, doing whatever. He's trying to figure out the orchestra. Like it's just so crazy. Um and he says as it goes into the nighttime and like now like the show is beginning and all like the arrangements are made as best as they can be made, and he says, and this is the point where you need to just sit back and let them, meaning the wrestlers, do their thing, and you just hang on for the ride.
Right.
So it's like him and oh my god, it's Brian Pritchard. I don't know why I'm getting Brian and
Bruce?
Bruce, thank you. I was like, it's Brian or Bruce. Okay. So it's Triple H and Bruce Pritchard just sitting with the headsets, like watching the cameras. And like
Hmm.
it was funny because they showed clips of like obviously something happened that they weren't expecting. They go, oh, okay, all right. Like they were just like really living in it
Hmm.
in real time, but they had like their notes and they were just like,
Yeah, they're in gorilla position. They have
oh yes, yes,
so
yes.
they have contact with the referee, the commentators. So like they need to be super paying attention to like what's going on, because they are also like giving cues and blah 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 blah, and like,
Yep.
oh, okay, this wrestler is like ready to go out now. Like
Yep.
they're the stop before they go out in front of the crowd. So they're while the show is happening, like I know he says sit back, they're coordinating the whole time.
Yeah,
They're
they're the only sit back is they're just physically sitting.
sitting.
Other than
Yeah.
that, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So obviously the tag team match takes place. It's Seth freaking Rollins, Cody Rhodes versus The Rock and Roman Reigns. The stipulation is that if Roman Reigns and The Rock win, then it's bloodline rules for the match versus Cody and Roman the following night. And
Correct.
if Cody and Seth win, then it's no
Bloodline's banned.
Yes.
Mhm.
So this match is crazy. I'm sure all of you have seen it. If not, why are you here?
Mhm.
Because even I've seen it, Miss Girl. And I'm gonna watch it again. So it's truly incredible. I mean, there's the perfect amount of interferences, the perfect amount of just insane moves.
Mhm.
I love that Cody Rhodes finishers the crossroads.
Mhm.
Ooh, I love a play on words. Ooh, yes,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
I love the Rocks has the people's elbow,
The
and then he
people's
has
elbow, the rock
the
bottom.
rock bottom. I was like, I love when they do that because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? So good. And then Seth has the stomp, yes?
Yeah,
Or he
the
does
stomp,
that a
and then he
lot.
also does the pedigree because he there was a time in Seth's career where he was being like, um, I guess under the learning tree of Triple H. Like he was like the
Love.
corporate champion of Triple H when Triple H was like an on-air character, but like he was like the executive on-air
Okay.
character. So he took that finisher as like an homage to that like era. So
Love that.
he does the pedigree also.
And because he's such like a he's like he I don't want to say he's like the modern day version of Triple H in terms of his character because he's that like I wear the clothes, I like the fits and the whatever. Like I don't know, he has some that air kind of. It's
I
like
get that.
like it's same but different. It's
Mm.
like a different font.
Yes, a very
Yeah.
different font.
Yeah.
Whereas like I feel like I don't know how to describe Seth Rollins.
Yeah, that's the best part is
He's
you
like the
just
Lady
don't.
Gaga of wrestling. Like
They period. Undescribable.
right. He's just
Undescribable.
like yeah, he you just have to like see it to believe it. You know what I mean? Like it's just like that aura is just like you cannot explain because he is so freakishly athletic. You never know what the hell he's wearing, like
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Mm-hmm.
Um and
Love.
he just works so hard, that guy. That guy just like
Yes.
puts his body through it.
Yes. And
So,
he's married to Becky Lynch
correct.
and they have a daughter together.
Correct.
Obsessed with her
Mhm,
also.
mhm,
Obsessed with
mhm.
both of them really. Um
And
love that.
Cody's wife is named Brandy. Brandy Rhodes, if you want to
Yes, I
find
did know
her,
that.
follow
I did
her.
know that. Love me some brandy. Uh both types.
Amen.
So obviously it's an amazing match. Rock gets Cody with that belt so bad, dude. I
So
felt that in
bad.
my spirit.
Hmm.
And Rock and Roman win the tag match. There was a part where like literally Rock pulls the official out of the ring, and obviously nothing happens because the Rock's in charge of everything.
Right.
But like, so Rock and Roman win, as we all know. So then we move on to night two. So I love this. They show Cody walking out of his tour bus the morning of day 2 of WrestleMania. And this is like, I can't like imagine because this is the day you are becoming the champion. Like you are finishing the story, like, and you're just waking
Hmm.
up and you're like, okay, it's another day at work. Like so
Right.
crazy. And he walks out and the tour bus directly opposite his is one with Dusty's picture on it.
Hmm.
Which is like so sweet. I'm like, I feel like y'all did that on purpose and I don't even care. Set me up. Set me up for the tearjerker. Um, so he like walks out, and he goes, like, it's this goofy picture of Dusty Rhodes, and I mean that in the most endearing type of way. And he goes, yeah, he used to call that his $1 million smile, but like, who smiles like that? Like, he was like, it's so
It's so
funny.
funny.
It's so real.
Hmm.
And he goes, oh, what else did I
So
want it? What
such a
else did I want it?
son.
Oh my, yeah, that's the family aspect of it. Where it's like, I mean, like, what a legend. Who smiles like that? Goofy,
Yeah.
bizarre. Love. And he goes, "Oh, what was the other thing I wanted to tell you guys? Oh, feels like a good day to finish the story."
Ah, what a guy.
I just want to punch him right in the face.
I know. What a
I
guy.
love
What
him.
a
I love
guy.
him. Um, then they go in, they show like Roman Reigns rehearsing with the band. The entrances go so crazy. And Roman Reigns says, he goes, "This is the moment where I want people to be like, whoa, they maxed the budget on this." Or he says something like that. Like they blew the budget on this. This is
Yes, that's
crazy.
like your
And
favorite line too.
period, blow the budget. Like I'm
Uh,
saying, like It's
So
just
good.
too good to
The
behold.
pageantry, I'm
The
telling you.
pageantry. The
That's what it like
pageantry.
that's what like that is why I'm just like everyone needs to just love wrestling as much as I do. I was like, where do you get pageantry like this?
Period.
Ugh,
Like the physicality, the costumes, the singing. It was so crazy. Like
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
oh my, and they're talking about, okay, we're gonna move the three drums when he comes out so he can weave into the thing. Da, 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 da. You guys are gonna say amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. I can't wait to rewatch these. So obviously those goes off. I would love to see more behind the scenes of those parts. Duh.
Mm-hmm.
And all the guest stars in this
Mm,
match
amazing.
feel perfect.
Amazing.
Feel perfect. I was telling Xavier earlier, I was like, it does not matter how many times I've watched it, and I have watched it many times. When that Undertaker gong goes off,
Done.
full body
Game
chills.
set match. It is
Full body chills.
so yeah, it's Jimmy Uso, Jay
Yes.
Uso, and
Mm-hmm.
then what? Solo, John
Yes.
Cena,
John Cena,
The Rock,
Rock,
and then The Undertaker. Oh, it was
Undertaker.
crazy. It was crazy. It was so
Oh,
good.
and I feel like The Undertaker, I mean, everyone was so good, but I just feel like The Undertaker was so perfect because it was just one little blip. Like lights go
Mm-hmm.
out, come on, there he is. Choke slams The Rock, love.
Lights go out.
Lights go out,
Rock and
he's
Taker are
gone.
gone. Love it.
Just so good.
Love it. Love
Perfect.
to see
It's
it.
perfect. But
Mm-hmm.
when that gong goes off and the crowd, like, you feel, oh my God, I
Mm.
cannot imagine.
Mm-hmm. Well, see,
Imagine.
the thing that's like crazy is like we never got like a final Undertaker match. Like he
Okay,
retired,
we what?
like we as
No, I
fans,
know, but like I'm scared now.
he's retired at this
No, I
point.
know that. I know that.
No, but he retired during like COVID. So like the one of the matches that he
Oh.
had was just like it was a like they called it like cinematic like matches. So they're filmed more like movies than they are like wrestling matches. So we never really got like a
Oh.
final like in the ring Undertaker retiring like match.
I did
Uh
not know that.
yeah, his last match was against AJ Styles, WrestleMania I don't know, 37, 30 something, something. And yeah, so he just like we never got like a final match. So like that's why this was such a like satisfying like little moment for a lot of us because it was just
That
like,
makes it so much
oh, cool,
better.
like he's in the ring, he's doing his thing. And then the Undertaker actually like talked about this particular match and he was like or yeah this particular like interference or
Moment.
whatever and he was just
Hmm.
like he's like I'll tell you what that like did for me. He was just like I felt for the first time that I was like at peace with being done. Like I did not feel like I needed to go back and like do this, that, or the other. Like it allowed me to kind of like put a like a pin in my like in-ring career. He's like for the first time since I retired, I felt satisfied like with that decision. And I was like, that's gotta be crazy because that's a man that and we'll watch the Undertaker Last Ride documentary at some point. Um but that's a man that like has had a really hard time like adjusting to not wrestling.
Of course.
So
I mean,
and
he's the
and admittedly
Undertaker.
so he says it all the time. I'm not putting words in the Undertaker's mouth. I would never.
Yeah. Oh my God. Unless you want to die.
Right.
Um, oh my God, that just made it so much better. I love it so much.
I know.
They'll
Literally,
never
Kelsey's
make
gonna go home
me.
and watch it now.
No, no, literally, not even kidding. Um, so obviously this match is just incredible. Crossroads three times in a row to take
Hmm.
out Roman Reigns, and so Cody wins, as we all know. I literally wrote, "I'm crying!" Exclamation point. I'm watching this documentary crying. Um, like just it's you just feel it. It's this insurmountable thing that just like happened like against it
Hmm.
just feels like against all odds. It feels like that's your friend
Hmm.
that won. Like the whole family comes out, the friends, the mom. And then what really took me out, and they had posted this on the WWE Instagram, and I sent it to Xavier, and I was like, how dare they do this to me?
Mm.
Oh my God, I could literally cry talking about this right now. They have Cody's in the ring with like his whole family, and like you're so in it, and he's celebrating, finishing the story, da da da. in the background, it's just Roman and Paul Heyman. I'm literally like,
Just
and
hugging.
just hugging because like
Mhm.
the one of the longest reigning champions of all time
Yeah.
just lost the title. And like, yes, someone wins the title, but then like someone loses it. And
Yeah.
someone who is very special. Like I know there are people who don't like Roman Reigns,
Right. No,
but
but people
he
respect
was
him.
respected. He is special. He is talented. He's amazing. He's a
Hmm.
great storyteller. He's an amazing wrestler. Paul Heyman deserves an Emmy. Like he is so good.
Honestly.
I
Put
was
that
just
man in
telling
the guild.
Li- SAG after call him. Like I I was telling Xavier that I be in the comments on the WWE Instagram. Like it's my new like hyperfixation is like
Mhm.
they'll post and I'll just be like. But every once
Mm,
in a while, like Paul Heyman comes up and I just every time I write Paul Heyman needs an Emmy. Like every time.
needs an Emmy. Don't care.
Needs something. But literally like the two of them, and they don't just like hug, they embrace.
Embrace.
And Paul knows what this is. He knows what it means. I'm sure they've been talking about it for a long
Hmm.
time. And like I just can't imagine that feeling. It was the juxtaposition of like everyone is exploding and like ferociously joyful
So there's like
over
a
Cody winning and then that
well,
juxtaposition.
there's that. But if you like watch the match back, while Roman's getting pinned, he kind of looks like he's smiling. And I think there's
Roman?
like a yeah, I think there's like a relief to it where it's like
Yeah.
you literally strapped this company to your back for 3.5 years. Like there has to be a level of like exhaustion to that. Because
Yeah.
even when he's earlier in the documentary, he's like, we were talking about like, he's so go go go. Like he's like, I can never settle into anything because there's always another thing to worry about. There's always one
Yes.
more thing that like I need to do and like that's being put in front of me and blah blah blah. So I imagine that there's some kind of like relief in that like, oh, okay, like I did my job. Like
Yeah.
I fulfilled my like obligation to this and I carried it as far as I could possibly take it because that's ridiculous. You want one more kind of fun story kind
You
of
know I do. You know I do.
so they after this whole exchange they get backstage and Cody is greeted by Triple H. And Triple H has a gift for him. He hands him this like gold Rolex. Um, so the Rolex
Oh no.
actually used to belong to his father. His
No.
father sold it to a
No.
pawn shop, or yeah, sold it when they were like struggling financially, so that Cody could go to acting school in California. Um, and Cody always wanted that, the Rolex. Dusty always had this like joke. He's like, "Oh, you'll get that when you win the world champion like chip. Only world
No.
champions wear the
No.
Rolex." So, after he passed, he went like asking about it, and that's when he found out that his father had sold it. They went and found the
No.
watch.
No.
The literal watch and gifted it to him the night that he won the WWE championship.
Oh my god.
Isn't that so
Oh
cute?
my God. That's how you use your resources. That's what you do.
That's what
That's
yeah.
what you do. That's how you spend your time and your money. That's amazing.
Oh, it was so good.
I'm
I
like,
was just
I
like
don't care at all, whatever. That's so nice.
I know. But
Oh
yeah.
my god, that's so sweet.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Wow. Love that. So that's
So
that's beautiful. Love that. Okay. I literally wrote all the affection, heart. Like even when Triple H and Cody like embrace
hmm
the way they do on in the ring, like forehead to forehead, like
hmm
it's giving Aragorn and
uh Boromir.
Boromir. I was like, that was really bad. Sorry, the
Yeah.
tears, it made me black out. Please don't
One,
judge me. I know
no,
who
no, it's okay.
Boromir
I
is.
was literally, I was like, "Where is your boyfriend?"
No, oh my god, the way
I was
Connor
like the
just went like
master of like just inane Lord of the Rings
his
trivia.
Lord of the Rings tattoo just started glowing.
No, literally, he's like,
Someone,
"This bitch."
and he just like takes off, busts through the window.
Oh, so funny.
Sorry, I know it's Boromir. But it gave very that where it's like, oh
Very
yes,
that.
toxic masculinity. I don't know her. We
I would have
embrace here.
followed
We
you to
touch.
the end, my king.
I'm like, uh make me cry again.
Right.
Um uh, never not crying over that.
Oh my god.
Um but I just love that. Like we're gonna embrace, we're gonna touch foreheads, we're gonna be just celebrating as we
Hmm.
should. But yeah, I mean that Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns embrace gets me. Um then Cody says, I thought if I won this, I would feel complete. And to a degree, the story being finished, I do have there is a completion to it. The first thing on my mind though is what do we do next, right? Like what do we do next with this? Um and I think there is a part, and maybe I forgot to write it down, where he says, like, I mean, it was this crazy thing, basically carrying the weight of the champion without actually holding the championship belt. Like
Yes.
being that persona for so long before even holding the belt. And now it's like just beginning. Like the actual, like,
Right.
I
The
am
the work is now starting.
is now
Essentially.
starting, and you really thought you just finished. Like it's crazy. It's just, it
Hmm.
never ends.
And
Um,
and there's no off season.
and there's no off season.
So it starts the following day.
Yeah.
The-
The documentary ends with the off season lasts 8 hours.
right.
It's one sleep. You get one sleep.
Yep.
And it better be a restful one because you wake up the next day and it's go, go, go.
Right.
But there's The Rock says, to Cody at the next Raw, I think it is. Or SmackDown. I think it's Raw though. Your story with Roman Reigns has ended, but our story has just begun. Love.
Right.
Um, and Triple H says you see all the people that do all the things to put their heart and soul into this, the talent. Everybody worked so hard to put this together and just delivered what I feel is beyond any and all expectations. And it is, by metric standards, the biggest WrestleMania of all time. Um, and he says, the truth is, I'm going to get up tomorrow and think, what can we do now? What can we do next? And in some manner, somewhere in my head, I'm going to be plotting meaning next year's WrestleMania.
Hmm.
That's the beauty of it. That's the honor of it. That's the privilege of it. We get to do it again tomorrow.
Amazing. Amazing.
What a goodie.
I'm glad we did this one.
Ate it up. Okay, here's what I would have added real quick.
Hit me.
I needed more Paul Heyman, duh.
Duh.
I needed more because I feel like I needed more in a lot of ways. I would have watched this as a series, like Road to WrestleMania 40. Like
Right.
I want to see more tech, more behind the scenes costume. Let's talk about costuming. Even just the headpiece alone on Cody when he comes out and he wears it for a literal 15 seconds and then takes it off, passes it to
Right.
Brandy.
Stunning.
I
Stunning.
Stunning. And I believe one of the main costumers in wrestling right now, his Instagram, I believe, is King Troy.
I
I
don't know.
believe.
Heard.
And if I'm mistaken, I'm sorry, but I follow him on Instagram. He is icon. He does most of Seth Rollins' costuming.
Heard.
I believe, designed Cody Rhodes' WrestleMania look,
That makes
with the
sense.
headpiece and everything. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I would have loved to have seen that, like why
Hmm.
the choices that were made, like how the orchestra came into play, like all of that stuff. I want to know. I
Right.
want to know about, like, they were in Las Vegas. Were they negotiating for WrestleMania 41? Duh. Like I feel like there is so much more there
Hmm.
that I would love to see. And I'm sure as time goes on,
We'll get
there
more
will
behind the
be more.
curtain. Yeah.
Absolutely, because I feel like this is a never-ending well of information you can tap into.
Right. And also, just very in the same vein of like, how they played the road to WrestleMania. It's like they're gonna release this, see what the reaction is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Period. That's such a good point. Well, this is my reaction. WWE, please give me more. I want a whole expose on just the wardrobe department, and that's
hmm
that. On the tech department,
hmm
whole documentary on that. I would love to see that. I would love to also, we would love to come spend time at headquarters, see
Shoot,
what's up.
I'll go right up to Connecticut. Sounds great.
I'll leave right now. I'll get in the car. I'll pick him up even and and
Let's go.
head up there. Head on up. Um I Like, there's so much more I want to see, and I think like you said, if they're testing the waters on if we want to see it, we do. It doesn't ruin anything for me personally,
Mhm.
knowing the behind the scenes. I think it only makes me want to engage with the content more.
Right.
Love a backstory, love context, love behind the scenes. So, I mean, I'm here for this. I love that they put this on YouTube for all to see, but give me more,
Give
please.
me more. Moral
Give
of
me
the
more,
story.
as Britney Spears has always said.
Amen.
So, this has been another episode of the New to Wrestling Podcast After Dark. We love you all so much. Thank you for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed the documentary like we did.
Mhm.
And our next episode, our return of our regular show, the New to Wrestling Podcast, will be up this Saturday. We're in the last episode of Raw before the next pay-per-view.
Yes, before King of the Ring 1997.
Crazy, very exciting. I'm so
Very, very
excited for King
exciting.
of the Ring. Always excited for King of the Ring. We love you all so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.